Well, hello there and greetings. Welcome, my friend, to the next episode here, Red Delta Project Podcast Live Feed Q&A. I'm your humble host, as always, Matt Schifferly. And today is another Q&A session. I open up the storm doors for your questions and inquiries into how to make this whole fitness thing work a lot better for you, helping you achieve higher state of fitness independence where you're breaking free of the fitness rat race and having more control over your healthy lifestyle. And speaking of control, one of the big lessons that I've learned over the past year is that one of the biggest entrapments that we face in life and fitness that can lure us in for the sake of potential progress, but actually keeps us trapped as far as how much you can achieve, is this belief that we need to be so dependent on things. The more we become dependent upon external variables, external validation, external systems, external products and services, the less personal freedom and control you actually have. And that certainly goes for many things in life, but especially in fitness. And it's important to recognize, because oftentimes when we go into fitness and we seek answers, how do I lose weight? How do I build muscle? How do I get in better shape? We're often encouraged to sacrifice our personal freedom in order to essentially become dependent on external things, dependent on a workout program, dependent on certain products like supplements or pieces of equipment, dependent on an ideology. Like high volume training, or particularly dietary ideologies like paleo or carnivore or something like that. And it's often phrased in such a way that says, okay, you have to become dependent on this thing because this is the thing that gives you power, which is very common rhetoric in a lot of areas in life, where if you want power, you have to sacrifice your personal power and control to an external source, usually someone who is seeking power over you, or some sort of a system that wants your power for its own sake, as I addressed in a previous episode. And so when we recognize that it's the dependence upon these things that puts us into trouble, then we can finally break free of it. Because I'm not saying don't follow a ideology or a system or use things because you want to. Absolutely. Just don't become dependent on it. And that's one of the big things that fitness independence and the Red Delta Project is all about. Like, I've got all sorts of techniques and tools and toys and systems that I use in my own health and fitness, but I'm certainly not dependent upon them in any way, shape, and form. I have some pretty expensive bicycles in my garage there, and I enjoy going cycling for burning fat and calories, and it's cathartic and it's a lot of fun and stuff. But I have no dependence on it whatsoever for my health and fitness. If some weird thing happened and I could never ride a bike again, I would be sad that I can't ride bikes, but I would find other ways to be in shape. I don't need a carbon fiber mountain bike in order to be in shape any more than I need a special spoon in order to eat, cereal. So it's breaking free of this dependence that is important. But a lot of times that can be scary because we're often kind of told that it's the dependence that gives you power. That, oh, you will have power over your weight if you follow this diet. You will have power over your aesthetics and your physique if you follow this program, or that you'll have power over your health and fitness if you follow this ideology. When the fact is, that's just simply not true. No ideology or anything that you ever come to entirely depend upon is the complete solution you need for the answers you want. No matter what you're implementing in your program, it's always only a piece of the puzzle. And that's the first step in recognizing that we don't need these things. We don't need a particular diet. We don't need a particular workout program. We don't need particular pieces of equipment in order to get in shape. It's fine to have it. It's great, especially if you prefer it. But it's breaking free of the dependence and the need of these things where we are going to find our personal empowerment and freedom. Empowerment to get much better results, but also the freedom to take back control and do things your own way. And all the rhetoric out there of you have to have this thing or you must become dependent upon this system or this ideology and stuff is the very thing that keeps you trapped, even though it will tell you that it's the path to the results or the progress that you seek. And the fact of the matter is, it's not. You simply don't need it. And when you recognize that, you no longer depend it, even if you still practice these things. So a lot of the stuff that I'm going to be talking about in the new year, to give you a little bit of a preview, is breaking free of the dependence upon a lot of the things in our fitness culture that encourage dependence on diets, dependence on equipment, dependence on certain workout programs and stuff. Because when you recognize you don't have to do these things in order to get the results you want, then you take back your personal power and you can make the choice on whether or not you follow it, whether or not you can discard it, or if you even want to change and adapt it around to suit your needs. And that's where you find your better power. That's where you find your fitness independence. And that's also where you're going to find a hell of a lot better results as well. So coming in with some questions here right off the bat, LOJ718 saying, what's up, brother? I realize I've been doing high volume body weight training, especially pull-ups. My tennis and golfer's elbow flare up. Any suggestions? Anything helps? Very good question. So first and foremost, when we have injury like that, we have a tendinosis or tendonitis in more severe cases, the first thing to do, of course, is not do things that aggravate it. And that usually is some sort of pulling motion of what you were doing that kind of led to it in the first place. I have a similar thing going on right now where I've had this issue in my right shoulder due to chest activation exercises as well. So with that type of injury, there's absolutely nothing you can really do about it. Except just let it heal. You can do some massage, you can do some blood work and motion and higher repetition stuff to promote blood flow to those tissues, because that's one of the reasons why they heal so slowly. But by and large, there's really nothing you can do about it. It's just, you got to let the body just heal on that sort of thing. And that's just going to take time, and usually a lot longer than it is. I've been dealing with a shoulder injury for 3 months now. So it's going to be a while. So that's the first thing. Don't do things that hurt. You'll find maybe that you will have better elbow issues with different grips, maybe with rows instead of pull-up variations, for example. Usually the elbow issues in your arm are due to a lack of back activation and shoulder stability. That's very common in calisthenics because our back is where we create most of our strength. And when we don't have enough back activation and tension in our lats and our traps for stability, then it all goes into the arm. The second thing, again, is like I mentioned before about don't feel like you need the high volume stuff. It's, again, you always have the freedom to do your thing, but in no way, shape, or form do you need high volume training to build muscle and strength. People do it all the time. They build muscle and strength with it. They also build it without it. Whenever you find examples in real life of people achieving a result without any consistency of the actual method they use, that means that the method really isn't that important between the two. It's kind of like the National Weight Control Registry. There's a registry of thousands of people who have successfully lost and kept weight off over years. And there is no consistent diet or exercise habits amongst the group. There's no one diet, there's no particular exercise program that's responsible for the success and average. Instead, it's much more general principles, like they eat plenty of protein and fiber and they're active on a regular basis, but it's not like, oh, the majority of them follow this type of diet. No, which means that that sort of thing really isn't that important. So people build muscle and strength with high volume. They also do it with low volume. They also do it a number of different ways. So break free of the need or the dependence on the high volume stuff. Because one of the risks of higher volume things is that your technique erodes and you're not actually concerning yourself with getting results. You're just trying to get the volume, assuming the volume is going to get you results. And that's not what gets results. It's being able to create the fundamental stimulus for hypertrophy, assuming you're here for building muscle and strength. So if you have more intensity and you're pushing closer to failure, then your volume's going to drop off like crazy, which is a good thing. And because of that, you're going to have much less volume if you go that route. So you can still work into the stimulus you want, but you don't need the high volume at all. In my beautiful strength program, we use double tap training. So it's 2 working sets per exercise, and 3 levels of exercises at most for each body part. So in my personal workouts, I will do 2 to 3 working sets for my back and biceps in a workout. Maybe 4 to 6 if I'm really pushing. And that's it. That's all I'll do, for that workout kind of thing. And it works just fine because it's not about volume. It's about the stimulus you want. So to put a bow on it, don't do things that hurt. You can do any other different exercises you want. You just got to do something pulling that needs to get your back and biceps, your pull chain. And the high volume stuff, it shouldn't be a goal. If you like it and it's tough, that's great. But you're not going to build muscle and get results because of high volume training or low volume. It's not about volume. It's about the stimulus you create. And if your intensity is low and you're pacing yourself, you need the volume in order to still achieve that result. It's kind of like if you wanted to get to a destination a mile down the street and you're walking real slowly. It's like, well, it's going to take me a long time. Yeah, because you're walking so slow. So speed it up. Go a little heavier. Again, find the exercise that isn't going to aggravate it. Go heavier and push much closer to failure right off the gate. And you're not going to need nearly as much volume if you want to go with something that's not going with that sort of thing. All right, Michael, drop weight daddy. My tennis elbow pain decreased tremendously after a 5-day water and tea fast. Well, good to know. Good to know. I would also bet you're not doing a whole lot of exercise there, Michael, during that time. Let me know. Asking here, Matt, do you do one-on-one consults? Not at the moment, no. I've got a new employment opportunity coming up in the new year, and that's going to be taking up a considerable amount of time. So for the time being, I am closing off any opportunity for one-on-one coaching, especially the remote stuff for now. I'm going to let the dust settle for a few months in this new job, and then I'm going to reevaluate if I want to open things up. But I already have probably more one-on-one consultation clients that I'm working with now that is going to take up more time than I kind of have to begin with. So stay tuned. I will let you know. But following up, when are you going to make a nutrition book? Probably never. And that's because nutrition and diet go hand in hand. So all of my books, I've got all of my books, my collection here, all of these deal with nutrition. Everything I've written has a nutrition component to it. And there are several reasons for that. One is we don't need anything special about nutrition in order to eat healthy and lose weight. So I can just include a chapter or several pages in a regular workout book and cover all the bases you need. The other thing too is it would be a short book. I am in the works of outlining a new book, kind of the sequel to, where is it? To Be Fit, Live Free. Okay, so this is the second to latest book I've written, Be Fit, Live Free. It's got a few chapters on the fundamental nature of nutrition and fat loss. And the follow-up to that will be much more on the practical application side of this, because this is the book that shows you how fitness works, which is important to know because most of the reason why we struggle to get in shape in our fitness culture is because we're going off of a flawed premise in how we think fitness works. We think fitness is the result of our diet and exercise program, and that's just not true. That's like saying I can successfully drive to the airport because I have the right car. Your diet and exercise program really isn't all that important. It is important, but it's not that important. I'm never going to tell someone you'll lose weight if you follow the right diet, or you're going to build muscle if you follow the right workout program, because that's not what's in charge of it. It's instead understanding the fundamental process that does govern how fitness works, and then knowing how to implement it. And the follow-up book I'm going to be writing is, okay, now we know how it works, but how do we work it? That's always the more practical application to it. So all of my stuff is nutrition. I've got a whole playlist on my YouTube channel about nutrition and weight loss, and on the blog on nutrition and weight loss. So if you want to kind of deep dive into some of my strategies for eating healthy and fat loss, go on there and you'll get the basics on that sort of thing as well. But yeah, no plan to write a nutrition book, at least not now. But I probably will, because damn, every book I have ever written was a book that I swore I would never write. It's like, I'm never going to write a book about how to look good naked. was like, well, here you go, book on how to look good naked kind of thing. So it's just as I learn more and I learn more about the application of things, I can do better in writing stuff. But for now, there's zero plan because it's largely unnecessary. Good question here. So, Roberto, can you build muscle like calorie maintenance with high protein? Absolutely, 100%. You can even build it to a degree in a deficit, which has absolutely been shown in the scientific literature. There's a lot on this sort of thing being addressed over at strongerbyscience.com. I've got a couple of videos that I just came out with. One of my latest podcasts, I think I did about a month ago. It's either a podcast or a video where I link down to one of their reviews, and it basically the research, the scientific research over a lot of meta-analysis. They're like, yeah, absolutely, you 100% can build in a maintenance phase. And my argument has always been, if you want to build beautiful strength, in other words, building up your body to actually look good naked and be attractive, you sure as hell don't want a calorie surplus, because a calorie surplus makes you fatter. And I've talked about this ad nauseum. I won't go into it too much here, but basically, again, a calorie surplus. This is another example of dependence that screws us over. Because when we think we need to be dependent on a calorie surplus to build muscle, that creates a whole cascade of headaches and work and wasted time and energy and money in some cases that just compromises your results and makes you work 10 times harder for a fraction of your potential. So yeah, absolutely maintenance. Now, I will say though, that you want to, eat to satisfy. That's the guiding principle of nutrition here at RDP, is it's never about following a diet. It's never about eating certain foods or anything. It's always about satisfying your appetites, which change and which fluctuate and which are never static for too long. So when we have eat to satisfy as our guiding principle rather than following diet, we actually have a much better chance of giving the body what it actually needs. Because whenever you're basing things off of an ideology or a dogmatic system, you are still largely guesswork about what you need for your diet. Like, oh, I need 2,500 calories a day. I hope that's the right number. It's like, no, you're always changing. So sometimes you're going to want to eat more. Sometimes you're going to want to eat less. So when you make the goal to eat to satisfy, then sometimes, yeah, eat more because you're hungry more, because you're training harder, because your lifestyle supports it. So you should absolutely be eating more to satisfy your needs. And that's going to make it a lot easier to build muscle because you're not holding yourself back. But yeah, and let's address the high protein thing. My approach has always been start with protein first at every meal. When you're making your meals or you're planning your meals and stuff, protein first. I think I addressed that already as one of my daily videos because I've got my 24 days of making fitness easier video series going on now here at the YouTube channel, also on Instagram and TikTok. And that is one of the tips. If it didn't come out yet, it will soon, is start with protein first. Whenever you're planning out your meal or you're at a restaurant and stuff, start with what your protein source is. Look for the protein first. Then you add in your fiber and vegetables, and then you add in whatever the hell else you want, making it a big enough meal so it satisfies your appetites. You do that, you're going to largely just take care of your needs right there. Your protein needs, your caloric needs, your nutritious needs, your 3P strategy, plant, protein, and portion. You get those three things on most meals, your diet's just going to take care of itself. Go and live your life. Don't worry about nutrition anymore. Don't worry about following a diet. Don't worry about counting anything. Don't worry about weighing out food or macronutrient ratios and stuff. Seriously, the 3P strategy will take care of most people's needs, and they don't need to do anything else beyond that. Just protein, plants, portion control. And that's a good thing, because the less you need to work at this, the better. Turn down that exposure a little bit here. Got a lot of sunlight glaring in from the office buildings around me here. But yeah, absolutely, it can be done. It happens all the time. Joseph, my friend, saying, Matt, I usually train with lower reps, less than 20, and I work in a steady pause at the bottom of a rep, train faster. How would that affect my muscle growth? So pausing and rep tempo are fun variables to play with. But remember, your muscle growth depends on if you're challenging your work capacity. Are you able to drain the muscle, in other words? And rep tempo and pausing and stuff can help you do that. I've been playing around now with, did you train lower body? Lower reps? No, you didn't mention that. I'm just imagining it because I've been doing that more with my lower body training here, trying to get more control in the bottom of my calisthenics leg training. And it's a hell of a lot of fun because when you pause, particularly in a very difficult point in the repetition, the amount of energy that requires on the muscle is very high, extremely high. And so that can help you effectively drain the muscular energy, if you want to use a simpler term, and really help to push that stimulus for muscle growth. Again, do you need it? Absolutely not. If you are using the pauses or using the steady pause and or a slower tempo or whatever, but you're still not pushing yourself close to failure, or you're really not fatiguing the muscle that much, it's still not going to help you very much, because that goal is still the stimulus you want from challenging our work capacity. So that can be a strategy to use. Absolutely. Put in the pauses. It also helps with control. We were talking about elbow tendonitis earlier. So a lot of times with high volume training, people will just kind of bang out reps and they kind of get a little sloppy sometimes. So their control goes down, which means the stability in their joints is also compromised. And that's when we get some of those injuries and things like that. So having the pause and moving at a very smooth tempo doesn't necessarily need to be slow, just smooth. And that can help stave off those sorts of things as well. Ben Benton, good to see you. Saying, Matt, I heard you talking about bodyweight leg extensions. Do you like that exercise? What do you think about it? So bodyweight sissy squats, in other words, they're awesome. I love them. They're my favorite leg exercise for sure. I love the sissy squat. They're so effective. They work great for building up the quads, for really focusing on, especially a lot of times when people come to me, if they're like, oh, I just can't seem to work my legs really hard or my quads really hard with bodyweight training. Focus on the sissy squat. The basic compound movements, squatting movements, lunging movements, that's great. That's awesome. That's what I'm doing a lot more these days as well. But there is nothing wrong with focusing on a single joint exercise as the primary technique for a muscle group. A lot of times in the strength worlds or the functional training worlds and stuff, it's like, oh, single joint stuff is bad for your joints and it's not functional, and it says who? There's nothing about that. If you want to make bicep curls basically the focal point of your pull chain exercises, then go for it. There's nothing wrong with that. So if you came to me and you're like, I don't know, these like sissy squats, they feel like they should be the focal point of my lower body training, particularly for the quads, I say, yeah, go for it. Make the sissy squat your main bread and butter lower body exercise, and then finish off with some level 2 jumping stuff just to kind of get it all to meld together as a quick little finisher there. But yeah, if you're like, I don't like doing these calisthenic skills like pistol squats and things like that, I'd rather just do sissy squats for like 80% of my leg lower body training, yeah, go for it. It's awesome. It's really effective because it's so simple and because it can be so easy. Alton, it's good to see you, my friend, saying, hey, Matt, how about this program? All right, using multi-influential approach, always good. Double trap plus 3 elements from the table of progressive elements. Yes, progressing the steps from convict conditioning. Man, you're going all over the place. This is awesome. I love this sort of thing because my man has done his homework. Holy smoke. So he's talking about the progressive elements, from my smart bodyweight training, double tap training from Beautiful Strength, and of course, convict conditioning from the legendary Paul Coach Wade and stuff. So what you're doing here is you are creating your own methods by mixing things together from different sources. And this is, my friends, how you want to go about it, especially as you get more advanced. Because no system or ideology or approach is ever going to be a full match for you. You could take my Beautiful Strength and you could apply it and be like, dude, this is it. This is the answer I'm looking for. This is great. It's everything I'm ever going to need to build my body up, particularly with calisthenics. And that'd be awesome, but it sure as hell ain't going to stay that way. 6 months later, you could be like, oh man, I really miss kettlebells. oh man, I really want to do this other exercise, but it's not in the program and stuff. And this is why when people ask me, like, I'm following this program or this diet, but I think I want to make a change, I'm almost always telling them, yes, make the change. Because there's almost never going to be a single source or program that's going to give you the holistic answer that you need. You're always going to need to be kind of adopting and mixing and switching and swapping and doing that sort of thing. And that's how you be fit and live free, my friends, because that puts you in control. That's empowering. That is giving you what you need. And so you're going to get far better results from it. But it also allows you to discard the things that just aren't working for you and are going to be a waste of time. Like in bodyweight, like here on the cover on Beautiful Strength, single arm row, suspension row. Love this exercise. Wonderful technique, great for the pull chain, back, biceps, everything. All you need is a gymnastics ring or a set of suspension straps, and it's, like a dumbbell row, bodybuilding lat row. Great. But if you came to me and you're like, I just can't make this technique work for me. It's just, I don't know what it is, but I just don't feel it working. It's hurting my elbow. I don't want to do it and everything. I'm like, yeah, get rid of the darn thing. There's no good reason to force yourself to conform to a program when there's elements there that just aren't working for you. So get elements from other things. And this is a great example. He's using convict conditioning techniques. He's using progressive elements from smart bodyweight training. He's using things to build his own system. And this, my friends, is exactly how it is done. You're doing it. Absolutely. I'm curious, what 3 elements are you using from that table of progressive elements? Please give me some more information. This is very inspiring for me. Mr. Big Roo saying, if you got shoulder problems, what exercise do you recommend to train the upper body? Does not require much shoulder use. Calisthenics exercises. Yeah, that's a good question, because everything uses shoulders, right? This is why back in the 90s, that a lot of bodybuilders, it was common to say they didn't do a shoulder day because they're like, my shoulders work all the time with everything else I'm doing. Why in the world would I give myself a shoulder exercise? So yeah, everything with the upper body is going to do it. So a couple of things. So usually the shoulder joint itself has pain from particular motions and activities. For example, anything out to the side like this is causing me more issues. Even if it's not pushing, rear flies are problematic. Y flies. One of the videos in my daily video series on Fitness Made Easier, I was talking about how to get so much more out of your push-ups. And while I was making that video, I purposely did a push-up with my elbows out to the side. And that caused a lot of pain. And I think I masked it pretty well when I was making the video, but it was like, 2 seconds of like, oh, sweet, oh my gosh, I feel like my arm just got ripped out. It was so bad when I was making that video. So I learned from that, and also the therapist that I'm seeing and stuff is like, keep the elbows in, which I've always talked about as using that for better shoulders and stuff. So I've been doing things that don't hurt, and I'm particularly, push-ups are really good for this. But I'm also, again, using more single joint stuff. I'm doing a lot of tricep extensions, because I can really work my triceps, but it's not really doing much on the shoulders there. Dips, funny enough, are also really good for it, because I can get really solid on the dips with my shoulder just the way it is. So I've been doing a lot of dips instead of like push-ups. No chest flies at all, because that what seems to be problematic. But I've had lots of shoulder issues over the years. Funny enough, almost never from weightlifting, but from other things I did. I was used to be a taiko drummer, and that really kind of messed up my shoulder a little because I had chronically elevated shoulders, so I was out of alignment with a lot of what I was trying to do. So it's one of those things that you got to play with it, because the shoulder could hurt from here, but not here, or this, but not this, and stuff like that. So it does take a little bit of trial and error, but you work around these sorts of things. So moving on, following up. So how do you eat to stay light and still get stronger? Well, if we're talking about actual strength here, that's not a diet thing. That's just a generation of muscle tension thing. So make sure your training is focusing on a high amount of resistance. So your muscles have to generate a lot of tension. That's what strength is. So keep your training relatively heavy and don't eat too much so you're not putting on body fat. That's basically where you stay fairly light. Because it does boil down to just how much of things. And focus on protein and plants with your foods, and then add in whatever else for portion sizes. And then if you find yourself adding body fat, then decreasing the portions. And usually it's pretty obvious when things add on. Like we're going into the holidays now. I'm going to be going back to the Northeast, and I'm going to be drinking a lot more. I'm going to be eating cookies and everything like that. So I'm certainly not planning on coming home with the same low level of body fat I have now. It's perfectly fine. I'm just expecting that. So when I come back and I'm like, okay, I'm a little bit softer. I put on a little bit of body fat in that almost 2 weeks I was back east. Not a problem. I don't need to do anything about that. I just simply go back to my dietary stuff that I'm doing now: protein, plants, and portion control. And that's all it takes. That's all I need to do. Good question here. So, distracted from power, will society collapse? Absolutely. Every society collapses. Throughout the course of human history, no society has ever survived the passage of time. But it's not always necessarily a collapse like, oh, the fall of the Roman Empire or anything like that. I mean, hell, Chinese empires have fallen and rebuilt many times throughout Chinese history and stuff like that. But instead, it's more of a transition and evolution over time. Like American society right now is not like it was back, 100 years ago. So nothing is ever going to stay the same. Nothing lasts forever. It's just, does it get outright destroyed by something, which is usually not too common these days. We don't have too many wars that completely eradicate entire civilizations these days, but thankfully. But it's usually just a change in an evolution. And that's where things, quote, collapse. Things are going to change. Like everything that we have now falls apart. And it's not because it actually breaks down, it's because something better comes around to replace it. And that's why I've learned over the years that one of the greatest assets that we have for eradicating the ills that we have in societies is not to fight these things, just to replace it with something better. Something better. It's like an old habit that you have. If you're a smoker or you have addiction to video games or something like that, usually fighting the very thing is what makes it stronger. But the greatest empowerment that we have is obsolescence of, oh, I found something better. Because usually people aren't addicted to video games because they like video games. It's because it's giving them something that they are yearning for, that they want. And a lot of times, addictions and bad things that we have persist because it isn't very good about giving us what we want. If I'm, addicted to video games, let's say, I never was too much addicted to games, but I've known friends who were, and they find something else in life. Like sometimes it's fitness, sometimes it's working on projects in their career or something like that. And they're like, I just wanted something to work on for personal growth. So when I was playing the video games and I would get my power ups and my level ups and I'd ascend to a higher level, that felt like I was doing something productive and growing and stuff. Of course, they really weren't that much because they're just playing a video game. So what would end up happening is they'd keep playing because it's giving them a tiny little bit of that thing that they wanted, but it's not very good, so they needed a lot of it. But then when they found much better satisfaction about what they really wanted from something else, then the video games became obsolete. They're like, yeah, my PlayStation's just gathering dust in the closet there because I don't need it anymore. I found something better. And so when, on the broader scale, when it comes to societies and everything like that, things change because better things get produced. And that's a very good thing. That's why I have a bit of an optimistic view on life, because a lot of times you get the new doom and gloom naysayers out there. It's like, oh, the end is near and everything like that. I'm like, yeah, the end is near because better stuff is coming, because we are growing as human beings. We're evolving as a society. And if we don't do it, someone else will. And progress and growth and improvement is inevitable. It's just a question of whether or not you're contributing and helping it, or if you're standing in the way. And if you're standing in the way, sooner or later, you're just going to get left behind. You're not going to be outright destroyed or anything like that. You just get dropped. And this has also happened a lot in societies as well. Happened in Japan, during the shogunates and everything. Basically, Japan closed itself off for like 200 years. Very little contact to the outside world. And then one day they woke up at the beginning of the Meiji Restoration, and they're like, "Oh crap, the world moved on without us." I'm paraphrasing, of course. This is very, very, very general, but they were like, "We've got to catch up," and then they started to, become more modernized and everything, and there was some social struggle there as well. But the bottom line is, it's not going to be all doom and gloom. I mean, sure, we could just drop a ton of nuclear bombs on us and Skynet could take over and everything, and that would be one hell of a collapse, but probably not going to be happening. It's probably going to be because much better stuff is coming. And, it can be scary for a lot of people because progress is scary. A lot of times when progress is made, we move forward towards better things, but it does mean we need to leave some things behind. We can't move forward without also putting distance with something in our past. So there's a bit of pushback from that sort of thing, but it's inevitable. And DJ Micah saying, finally cut the live vids. Thank you very much for coming on in, my friend. Missed the other ones, finally caught you. Thank you very much for coming on in. So yeah, with my new job and everything, I may be moving these to a Wednesday afternoon time slot, just because, again, evolution. I need to do something a little bit better in my life for this, and I need to make some changes into the new year. So keep up to date with the RDP on Instagram to get the new live times and stuff, because it's hard for me to get these weekends in, especially times like this, because I travel a lot and I've got other commitments and stuff with like Taekwondo and things. So, they have a seminar on Saturday afternoons, and it's like, well, I can't do the live feed because I'm going to be over at a Taekwondo seminar kind of thing. So I'm trying to find a more stable time frame to do this sort of thing. He's following up saying, just got approved for my ortho to start training my arm again. Yes, my bicep tendon reattachment surgery. Good for you, my friend. Good for you. It's a long road back from that sort of thing. And I'm proud of you for sticking with it. I know it takes a lot of patience, and it's really hard to recover from that more mentally and emotionally. And good for you if you're moving forward and you're getting that sort of the thumbs up and the A-OK to do that sort of thing. Good job. Listen to them. Keep it prudent. We don't need to rush forward and like make up time or anything. Just you're moving forward here. So that's fantastic. Adi Chin, oh boy, is saying, what something better did you find? Oh, lots of stuff. Very much so. So let me see if I can think of something specific. Well, okay, here's one from a long time ago. Is I started to notice that when I was in school, in high school, that if I went too long without eating, I would have a massive drop in my energy level and my mental focus. And then I would eat a lot because I was starving. And then I would feel a drop in my energy in another way because I just stuffed myself with all this food and fall asleep during math class kind of thing. So I found that it was a lot better for me to be a bit of a grazer, to eat throughout the day, 4 or 5 meals at a clip. Even these days, I'm kind of on the Hobbit diet. I'll have breakfast and then go train a few clients, and then I'll have a second breakfast, and then get in my own workout and stuff like that. And then I'll have lunch, and then I'll have some clients in the afternoon, and I'll have a snack and something there. So I'm a grazer, and I've noticed that's better for me than eating regular meals, sort of thing. But I know some people like to eat like twice a day or even once a day, sort of thing. So there's 2 things that I learned that are better from that. One is it's better for me to graze than to eat 3 meals a day. And also 2, just because it's better for me doesn't mean it's better for everybody. So being able to have a flexible approach to consuming food throughout the day is way better than having a dogmatic approach of, nope, this is exactly how you're supposed to eat as far as meal timing and frequency throughout the day. Oh, good. And following up, Alternago saying using a center line, tension control, and speed. Oh, good elements to be working with. Absolutely. I will do a 3-minute test now and then. Yep. So he's got a fourth element there thing in my micro workouts. And then I complete the test on compliance on those elements. Then it's time to progress to the next step on convict conditioning. This is a very smart approach that you're using, because the speed element from smart bodyweight training gives you a lot of variety and versatility there. Plus, when you're talking about tension control, I mean, that's always something to improve upon. And center line, so you're moving your hands or your feet closer to your center line to remove stability, but also increase range of motion, which oftentimes also increases resistance on the muscles that you're working. So you get those three together, plus the progressive steps that you have in convict conditioning. That's a hell of a way to approach calisthenics, my friend. Very, very nice done. Well done. That is fantastic. DJ, what about second breakfast? Exactly. Or even third breakfast. I always liked, especially at the beginning of the day. I'll usually eat more at the beginning of the day than later on in the day. I usually find that's better for me. So we're always discovering new things for ourselves too. We're always changing. Our needs change, our resources change, our preferences change. So there's never like a static point that our diet and exercise habits should be in. Because I know there's that allure out there that somewhere you're going to find like the happily ever after diet or exercise program of like, oh, I started doing this and it solved all my problems, and now I'm just going to do this for the rest of my life and live happily ever after. I know that is a tempting fairy tale ending, but it is just that, a fairy tale. You're never going to really find that absolute solution that just takes care of you, no matter how much you force yourself to stick to it or how much you're in love with your current approach. Because eventually something just changes. Something needs to modify about it. You could be on a particular program for years, even, and say that, yeah, I've been doing this for 10 years. It's been awesome. It's been great and everything. It's like, oh, good. But that still doesn't mean there's no opportunity for change and development and in evolution, as you're naturally going to just change. And there's always better out there somewhere. There's always some little tweak that you can make that's going to be better. And if you're not looking for it, or at least you're open to receive it, then you basically just kind of stay stuck with what you have. And that can really be something that is not really like a plateau, but it can grow stale pretty quick. So Drop Weight Daddy saying, Matt, any thoughts on muscle autophagy and stuff? So things like this are a classic example of how the marketing rhetoric in fitness can lead us astray and also become dependent upon various things. Because a lot of times people are like, oh, if you use this program or use this method, this thing is happening and it's very important, like autophagy and stuff like that. And you read the books or you watch a YouTube video or a TED Talk or something like that, and it sounds important. And it sounds like it's exclusive to whatever it is, high volume training, intermittent fasting, type 2, zone 2 cardio, whatever that thing is, right? But always remember, my friends, that diet and exercise habits don't do anything. Seriously, when you eat or you change your diet or you do your workouts, nothing is happening that isn't already happening in the first place. Okay, so autophagy is a prime example. People are like, oh, this diet promotes autophagy, or this sleep pattern, or the intermittent fasting. Yeah, you know why? Because you're alive. It'd be like saying, oh, if I go for this jog around the park, I'm going to make my heart beat. I'm going to make my blood flow. Like we say that sometimes, we're warming up, got to get the blood flowing. It's already flowing. I know what you mean and everything like that, but sometimes the rhetoric will try to convince you, like, you do this thing and this thing is the result, and it makes it sound like it's a special thing, and it totally isn't. It's going to happen anyway, like recovery. I talked about in previous episodes. Oh, we got the massage guns and we got the ice baths and we got the supplements and we got all these different foam rolling and stretching and all this stuff for recovery. You don't need to do a damn thing to recover. I guarantee if you worked out and did nothing whatsoever, you're going to recover just fine. It doesn't mean these things aren't helpful or you do them for their own sake, but don't think it's going to be anything beneficial or special, because most of the time it just isn't. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and there was this debate about this, going from sauna to cold plunge, sauna to cold plunge. I did this about a month ago. We have a place here in Denver, which is really cool. It's like a Japanese style dry sauna, cold plunge, dry sauna, cold plunge. It was really cool. Went there with some work colleagues and stuff, and we did it for like an hour, and I'm like, this is good. And in the podcast, they were debating about the benefits of it. What does the science say? And they're like, well, the cold plunges are somewhat, linked to slowing down hypertrophy and all these other sorts of things, and it's maybe not so good. Yeah, but inflammation and could be beneficial here. They're going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth until finally someone had the wherewithal to say, why the hell are we debating this? Why are we trying to tease out if sauna and cold plunge is a healthy thing to do? This is a stupid debate, because if it's just fun and it just feels good to do, that's all the reason you need to do it, right? It's not going to be bad for you and stuff. It's not going to totally kill your gains, bro, or anything like that. But they're like, why are we debating over this thing? If you like doing it and it feels good, go do it. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. You're not missing out on anything. And that's what it really boils down to, is you don't need any dependence on it, because a lot of stuff out there will try to make itself sound important. Oh, you do this, autophagy happens. Yeah, it also happens with 100 other things that you do. So you don't need anything in particular. It's going to happen completely on its own, because it's a normal part of life. If it's really that important, like people are like, oh, it's so important for your health, so important for your well-being, so important for your performance. If it's that important, your body's going to do it automatically without you having to do a damn thing. It's like my shoulder, recovery and stuff. All I needed to do was figure out what exactly the injury was. I don't need to do anything to make it heal up. When I was going over to Denver Sports and Recovery and stuff, and I was getting some sports massage and scraping and cupping and dry needling and all that kind of thing, we were just trying to figure out what the heck it was. I didn't expect anything they did to actually help. I just like, what is causing it so I can address it and let the body heal? That's all I needed to know. Because if it's that important to the body, you don't need to do anything. You just need to not be in the way. Same as I was talking about earlier with, collapse of various things in society and progress and stuff. Things are going to be good and get better and stuff automatically. That's one of the great things about fitness. You don't need to do anything. You just, a lot of times, need to just not get in the way kind of thing. And that's how a lot of things happen with fat loss, with good health and stuff. It's if you're drinking heavily every day, the alcohol, which is a toxin, it's a poison, is preventing your body from doing the healthy thing. So if you stop drinking and you're like, oh, I'm so much healthier, you didn't do a damn thing. Your body is going to be healthy for you. You just stopped standing in the way. You just stopped preventing it from happening. And that's a great empowering thing, because oftentimes in fitness, the rhetoric is we got to make things happen. We got to force it to happen. And it's like, no, you just largely need to allow it to happen. You're like, well, what are you talking about with exercise? We still need to exercise if we want to build muscle. And you're right. But the process of muscle protein synthesis and all that sort of, again, that's going to happen completely on autopilot, even if you're a couch potato. All you're doing when you go to the gym is you say, yeah, body, this process that's going on right now? Speed it up. I want it to happen faster. And that's all exercise does. Exercise doesn't do anything. Diet doesn't do anything. It just speeds up or slows down what's already happening. And therein lies how we get the results that we have, is largely letting the body do its thing, not standing in the way, and speeding up the things that we want. But there's nothing that we would do that's like exclusive or anything like that. So I know, quick question there. But yeah, bottom line is autophagy. Don't worry about it. You don't have to do anything about it. And usually, this is the other thing I should mention, is usually when we're like, oh, what would help? It's the stuff you already know to do anyway. Get plenty of sleep, drink plenty of water, move every day, you get some protein, whole foods, all that stuff like that. So usually the recommendations are like, well, yeah, duh, I already know to do that. I'm like, well, then you don't need to think about it anymore. Matt Joseph's coming on saying, Matt, if I go fast in my training, would that affect any muscle growth, or would I end up doing a lot of reps? Could be yes, no, maybe so. So we're talking about the speed element. Where's my book here? Speed element. All right, one of the 9 elements of progressive calisthenics that you can use. And speed is kind of funky because you can go faster or you can go slower than normal, and you're doing things either way. But when it comes to muscle, it probably doesn't matter. And the science has shown this a million different ways, is that you can change your workout program 100 different ways: high volume, low volume, slow, short reps, long reps, like a million different. As long as you're just still getting your muscular work capacity challenge, the muscle growth's going to largely be the same. So all these variables that we have doesn't really matter unless it's changing your ability to achieve that fundamental objective. Like if you are going faster and you're like, man, I can really push the muscular fatigue to a higher level with this, well, then it's probably going to help. But my money's on, well, it's probably going to do the same thing as before, so it's not really mattering that much. You're right that you're probably going to get more reps because you're using a little bit of a plyometric response, plus there's less time per repetition as well. So this is why when people are in like scenarios like they got past a PT test, like I got to be able to do 100 push-ups in a minute or something like that, I'm like, yeah, go fast. Go quick, go, 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 go. I knew a guy who would warm up with 30 pull-ups at a time, and he would use a short range of motion and just be like bang, 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 bang kind of idea. So if he needed to pass a pull-up PT test or something, I'd be like, yeah, use that strategy because it's just about the number. It's not actually about getting strong or fit. It's just about passing the number so you pass the test kind of thing. So yeah, but as far as the actual fitness results, probably not going to matter very much unless actually getting faster or higher numbers is part of the result that you want. DJ, good questions coming on in, man. How do you feel about TRT? I'm taking the gel, but don't really notice that much of a difference. Very good question. So a lot of things. I'm not a hormone guy. I don't know a whole lot about it. Doctors know a lot more about this than I do, sort of thing. But here's just a number of things that I've come across. Number one is that the goal of TRT is not going to actually build anything up too much. It's just bringing you up to a level that you kind of were, where you didn't have any negative consequences. So if you had like testosterone level was low enough that you had things like insomnia going on, really decreased libido, loss of energy, things like that, TRT is not about, oh, I feel amazing or anything. It's just decreasing the bad stuff. So if you don't have a lot of bad stuff going on, it's probably not going to make all that much of a difference. Second of all is that it's not so much just about the testosterone, but also, of course, your receptors. So if your receptors to the hormones aren't very plentiful or responsive, then yeah, you can jack yourself up on steroids all day long. It's not really going to do a hell of a lot for you. So that's something that you can look into and speak to your doctor about is, well, how do we test that, for receptors? How responsive are you to this sort of thing? But yeah, it's, a lot of things in the drug world are like this. A lot of times the rhetoric, again, largely based on salesmanship, is that drugs are going to be this amazing, wonderful thing in our fitness, whether it's for building muscle. Now, of course, we've got weight loss drugs and things like that. And man, the number of times people have come to me and they're like, I'm taking this drug, not really noticing a hell of a lot of difference, though. I mean, sure, there are some people like, dude, I took this, it totally changed my life. Yeah, you got those, but you have just as many people who are like, I went on a weight loss drug. I lost like 3 pounds and that was it. And nothing happened. And why am I spending $1,000 a month doing this? It's like, yeah, because at the end of the day, again, it's one influence. It can be a powerful influence, absolutely, but it is just one thing. There's a lot more to our health and fat loss and metabolism and building muscle and stuff than just whatever that drug is. So usually the folks who struggle to get much out of the performance of a drug are expecting to just take the pill or stick a needle in their leg and, okay, do your thing. I'm supposed to get better results just because I took the med. No, it's not a holistic approach. And that's why, people who get the best results from like Ozempic and things like that, they're like, yeah, I started doing this and I'm working out with a trainer and I'm doing more cardio and I overhaul my diet and I'm getting emotional issues with food addressed and I'm getting better sleep and I'm drinking more water. Again, a multi-influential approach. And so these are the things that all stack up and get a much better result that's a lot easier to maintain, because a lot of times those things can build you up. And then, even better, they come to the doctors and the doctors are like, yeah, you probably don't even need this drug so much anymore, or a much lower dose, which is great because now, again, there's one less thing you have to depend on. And this one less thing that you need to depend on using in order to get the result you want. And the less you need to depend on external variables, the more empowered you are, the more freedom you have, and the better you can maintain your results. So that's one of the biggest reasons why a multi-influential approach can be so empowering, is because the more different things you can bring in, the less dependence you need on anything, and to the degree of it as well. So I hope that answers questions for you. But drug intervention is always one of those things that's a case-by-case basis. Talk to your doctors about that sort of thing. I cannot talk today. 1603 saying, what is your protocol for healing chronic injuries? Quadriceps tendinopathy, shoulder pain. Would you love your look at fixing scapular winging, rotator cuff injuries, and so on? So it sounds like you've got a lot of instability going on with your shoulders and stuff. And you mentioned your quadriceps and things like that. So the first thing I would look at is, where's your tension control issues? Because a lot of times injuries and issues in tendons are due to a lack of tension control in muscles. And that's a foundation for everything that I always do. Doesn't matter what your goals are. Like, tension control is 80% of everything to do with success in exercise. And not only for building muscle and strength, but also keeping things protected. That's probably why my shoulder hurts, is because I probably was doing a set or a workout and I wasn't contracting my pectorals well, or my back, or my traps, and the stress went into my shoulder, caused some damage, and now I'm suffering the consequences from that sort of thing. So this is where hands-on with like a physical therapist or chiropractor can really do a lot of good, because when you're moving, you're doing your push-ups or you're doing an exercise and you've got a scapular winging, you've got your shoulders hunching up and stuff. Yeah, that shows that, I'll just be blunt, you're not using your muscles very well with the exercises, and you've got to improve your tension control. So that's what's causing it in the first place. So we got to address that. The second thing is, again, as I mentioned earlier, is just let the body heal. You can't make the body heal so much. You can just basically stop slowing down the healing process. So work around injuries, don't do things that hurt. So if you're thinking, oh, if I do decline push-ups, that hurts my shoulders, but if I do cable flies, that's fine. Well, then do the cable flies kind of thing. And make sure that you're getting things dialed in, working with things. But the more you improve upon your tension control, the more you're going to give yourself what your body needs for that stability and the control. So the stress isn't in your joints, it's in your muscles. And that's why I've got Overcoming Isometrics. That's why my grind style calisthenics program, I'm going to get the book here. Come here. And grind style calisthenics starts off with tension control and mobility exercises, because that is the foundation for all of our healthy training, is basically how well do you use your muscles. And that's why that's the focus of every warm-up in a grind style calisthenics workout, because that's what protects you and also amplifies things. Following up, saying, even though the pain is close to 0 out of 10, good, is basic bodyweight exercise like push-ups, but I feel a significant click in the shoulders. Yeah, so clicks are a very common thing, feeling very crunchy, crepitus, sort of thing everywhere else. So yeah, that's kind of a canary in the coal mine. Even though those who understand the body will say, oh, the clicking and crepitus and things like that is fine. And as long as there's no pain, it's okay. And they're right. It is, but it does point to a lack of control and stability somewhere that's causing misalignment. And that's why you're getting the clicking and the crepitus and things like that. So it's not bad, but it can become bad if it's not addressed. And so something's off. Usually it's a lack of tension in the back. Usually it's a lack of activation in the glutes and the hamstrings, posterior chain stuff. Because we do this all day. We sit all day. We sit in the car. We sit, and now we're getting worse because we're doom scrolling and we're all hunched up like this. So our tension control on the backside of the body is just decreasing, like falling like a brick. So as that gets worse, all of that stability, all of the control that you need for your joints to be in proper alignment gets compromised. And yeah, it does not take much to hurt the body in that regard. We martial artists understand this inherently. My original instructor used to do this all the time, where he'd like get me in a wrist lock or whatever. He's like, look, one pinky, and he'd tap, and I'd be like, tapping out, oh gosh. And he's like, see, you create a misalignment and it takes very little force to cause damage. But when you have proper alignment, shoulders are packed down in the bottom of a push-up, and glutes are engaged, hips are extended at the top of a lunge, all these sorts of things, then it's like, yeah, you can have 500 pounds on your back and be fine. It's not even a slightest bit of stress in those joints. That's the power of alignment. And you get that through the tension control and the stability. And if you don't address that, it's just going to keep coming back over and over, as I've experienced many times over the years. I've had that kind of chronic issues in my ankles, my feet, my knees, my hips, my lower back, my shoulders, my neck, my wrists, my elbows, pretty much every joint you got, except for my fingers. My fingers have always been pretty good, but I've pretty much had chronic injuries and issues with everything I've got. But the better my tension control gets, that stuff is largely a thing of the past. So I know these aren't like quick and easy answers, but it's not going to be. It's going to be something that is a process. But again, breaking free of the dependence on single solitary answers is the first step in moving forward. Because if I gave you an answer like, oh, don't do pull downs on a straight bar or something, or make sure you're just not eating this type of food or whatever. Single cookie cutter, fortune cookie style answers sound great on a social media post, but they promote that dependence, because it's like, oh, all you need is this one weird trick. And then you think that's all there is to it. So you basically are taking a very limited approach, and you're forcing yourself to stick to that one thing that probably isn't going to do all that much for you. And you're dependent upon it, so you don't want to go beyond it or even disregard it for something better, because it creates a crutch. And that's how you get confined and restricted, and you are supremely limited. So question the necessity of things. That's how I've done everything with RDP, is questioning the necessity of everything. Most things are not that necessary. Do things your own way, the better way. Use a multi-influential approach, like we were talking about earlier, and you're going to have far more empowerment, far more freedom, and much, much better results. And you're also going to have a hell of a lot more fun doing it too, as well, when you do things your own way. So thank you very much, folks. Again, the audio for these are posted on your podcast directory of choice. Links down below to all the resources into the AM apparel, as I'm a big fan of, to show off your beautiful strength that you're building up, clothes that actually fit you and make you look better rather than make you look worse. And the equipment resources that I talked about, and all the books that I was talking about today. Beautiful Strength, Smart Bodyweight Training, everything I've written. PDF form at reddeltaproject.com. Of course, you can find all these on my website, or the Amazon page that I have, paperback and Kindle form as well on Amazon. If you just search Red Delta Project or my name, Matt Schifferle, you'll find that as well. So thank you very much, everybody, for coming on in. I plan on doing this next Saturday and maybe even on that Wednesday, but keep an eye on the RDP Instagram for further updates. Best of luck in the workouts this week. Until then, be fit and live free.